Hello, I'm Regina Botros, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. I'm talking with Keegan Joyce. You might have seen him as the son of Richard Roxburgh in Rake or in Please Like Me. For the stage, he has been in productions of Oliver and Once, Hour of the Wolf and Nosferatu, Rules for Living, Vivid White and Titanic, a new musical. He's also obviously a musician because we are talking about No Love Songs. Maybe it's not obvious he's a musician. We'll get to that. No Love Songs is coming to the Foundry Theatre at the Sydney Lyric in Piermont, a new space down there. And this musical is inspired by Kyle Falconer's real-life experiences with his partner Laura Wilde from his second solo album, No Love Songs for Laura. Please welcome Keegan Joyce.
Hi, Regina. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into this production, you, acting and music, you went back to study musicology, but what came first? Was it the music or the acting?
For me, it was the music.
Yeah.
I was always a big listener, an avid listener as a child. There are photos of me sitting in front of the stereo, listening alone to music. Apparently, I was always begging to listen. So I think listening came first, and then as I think happens when you're a young boy and you start singing, musicals are a pretty quick way in to performance, and I was really lucky. I got really, really lucky, and I did Oliver when I was 12, got hooked on performance and musicals and theatre in general, and then from there, acting came after.
But what were you listening to? Do you remember those moments in front? Yeah?
Yeah. I'm not embarrassed about it, but it's just really weird. I was listening to Strauss's Alpine Symphony.
Wow.
I know. I don't know why. I think my parents had a limited amount of CDs, so maybe that's where it started. But yeah, my dad wasn't a huge classical music fan, but I think it was one of the ones that I really loved, apparently.
Does it still have that effect for you now? If you listen to it?
Sometimes. I don't listen to it that frequently, but when I do, I definitely feel relaxed, I guess, which you don't always in the Alpine Symphony, but yeah, it's just a beautiful piece of music. And then I think, my parents were so supportive. Neither of them were really musicians, or they're not musicians, but neither of them had really had any formal music training. Mm-hmm. My dad plays a bit of piano and sings, and so they were very keen when I was excited to get music lessons. Although I think they drew the line halfway through high school when they got the bill back from the school and I was secretly taking bagpipe lessons, and they said, okay, that's one instrument too many, Keegan, and no more bagpipes, not in this house.
Are you still playing the bagpipes? I have to ask.
No,
I mean, I know you've got an album coming out, or if maybe it's out, I'm not sure, but are there bagpipes? No?
No, sadly not, although it has given me an idea that maybe I should. It's not out yet, so it's still being mixed. So there's still time.
For the bagpipe solo. So talking about this production and your role, it's a two-hander as far as I understand. Yeah. So is the story just told through the songs from that album, or is it dialogue as well, or what? How is the story told?
The premise is kind of that you rock up to kind of a gig night in some ways, but it's this couple kind of telling their story through this playlist of songs. And the truth is, it's a playlist of songs written by Kyle Falconer and the story written by his partner and mother of his children, Laura Wilde. And it's this really amazing, beautiful, sometimes full-on story about love and loss and the difficulties of raising a family in any respects, but in this particular case, between the two of them, one of them who's a touring musician. So it's that story. So it's not exclusively told through the songs. It's they just kind of fit perfectly because the original album was called No Love Songs for Laura. But in our show, the wonderful Lucy Maunder plays Lana. They are very tricky change of name,
Ah.
and I play Jesse. And they meet when he's like gigging and very quickly fall in love and fall pregnant, and then the kind of the story kicks off pretty quickly after
And
that.
and I'm wondering, it's described as uplifting and dynamic and funny. And I wonder how this works within music. Like, I mean, because I can now draw on or you can draw on your musicology knowledge. I mean, but I always wonder this about music. Like, I know that E flat is a sad song, or
Yeah,
used, is
yeah,
that
it's
right? So
like
is it,
it's
what,
like can be sad.
what are the, I guess, musical kind of part of the storytelling, the music?
Well, one of my favorite things, and I think the reason that I'm still so hooked on music is that you can have this, sad is just a very simple dimension to an emotional response that we have to music. And just 2 days ago, I was listening to a song and I went swimming and I felt really emotional about the song for some reason. And it can be the key, it can be the lyrics. I think the lyrics obviously do a lot of heavy lifting and kind of pop indie pop music. But in this show, I think there's this kind of juxtaposition at times. I do think the sad songs sound pretty sad, but they are really hopeful. And I also think the music does this really amazing thing where it gives you catharsis. So, part of the sadness is experiencing this emotion in a group of 360 people at the Foundry Theatre, and all of us going, "Oh my gosh, I felt that." And that's part of the kind of purpose of the show is that this soundtrack to our lives that we have can help us, understand what we've gone through. So the music, I think, is like pretty upbeat and happy and at times juxtaposes what's happening on stage because that's real life. We fake
It,
it
I
sometimes.
wonder, did you meet him? I mean, I don't know the band that he's from. Uh, yeah, The
The
View.
View. No, we haven't met, sadly. I had never really heard The View before. I mean, they're so popular in Scotland. When I first got the script and I was looking at it, I messaged a really good mate of mine, a Scottish musician named Quinny, who lives in Melbourne now. And I messaged Queenie and I said, I actually can't understand the script because it's written in like Scottish vernacular sometimes. It had such huge amounts of slang there. And he gave me some understanding of it. And then he said, is this Kyle Falconer's The View? And he's such a huge name there, which is amazing. And the music is so, so good. There's this, we were talking about it, Lucy and I, the other day, like our favorite songs. And one of them is a song that I don't sing. It's a song that Lucy sings called Mother, and the opening lyrics are just so stunning. I'm not going to say them, I'm not going to spoil it, but the song is so phenomenally put together. And as a songwriter and, a lucky person, I get to play the guitar and the piano on stage and kind of rock out sometimes. I feel this weird envy happiness playing them thinking how this song is so good, I wish I'd written it. So there's something like really wonderful
Oh,
about the music. I've never met Carl and I hope we get to meet him.
beautiful. Oh, man, that sounds just gorgeous. And you get to play all these instruments, obviously. Have you played these?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
all your life? I mean, I know you
we've
talked a bit
been
about music, but yes.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really pick up the guitar until I was in my mid 20s. And I really picked it up because I wanted to write songs, but I couldn't afford to lug my piano around to too many share houses. So, I think it's just such a portable instrument, which is really the main reason. And so I have since fallen in love with it. So in this show I mostly play, I think I play several songs on guitar and just one song on the piano. I do get the moment on the piano is this really emotional moment, and it's kind of a bit of a relief for me because I'm much more adept at the piano, so I sit down and feel really like at home. But I've been, really lucky that we've got some guitars from Martin Guitars who are so wonderful. And so, playing some amazing instruments that sound great and getting a lot of practice in, it's a really wonderful thing.
Wow. So much talent, bringing all of the instruments as well as singing as well as acting. I wonder about your songs, and are there like similarity, or not similarities, let's not say similarities, but what style of music do you write yourself?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I came across this, I've been part of this work, I started auditioning, I think, late last year and, got it. And we've only rehearsed for 3 weeks, but I listened to the music and had a play before we got into rehearsals. And I feel like my music has moved in that direction in some ways. My very first record that I did, the only record I've done so far was released in 2016, and it was really early on in my kind of songwriting, guitar playing life. And I don't know, I hope that all musicians feel this, but sometimes I listen back and just wish I'd done things differently. But at the time, I really wanted it to be a really raw, live feeling of the music. So it was all live tracked. There was no overdubbing. It was all, single room basically. And now with my new stuff, it's much more maybe I don't know, maybe in 20 years I'll look back and think it's overproduced. But there's a lot more stuff there. There's a lot more music. I've been working with some great artists around the world, some string players and drummers, and going to some amazing studios and just experimenting. So that sound of No Love Songs, which is definitely like an indie rock sound, I would say that my music is more indie pop. But there is a crossover there for sure.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sure, I mean, I asked a bit about like the emotion of music in I guess the key, or maybe the pace, for whatever better word, the rhythm. But also I imagine instrument, obviously. I mean, if you've got an acoustic guitar, it's going to have a certain sound.
Exactly. Right? And the same with the piano. Like there's just something that's obviously a huge crossover. One of the things I didn't think would be a crossover, which really has been, was actually the kind of the feeling of songwriting. Because in the show, even though those songs are written, we're kind of emulating some songwriting processes. And in one scene, Lana tells Jesse that she hears the songs and kind of tells him the meaning of the song. And he's like, no, that's not what it's about. Oh, it is. And I have had that experience before where I've written songs thinking I completely understand them, and especially a partner or a loved one will say, oh, that love song you wrote. And I thought, oh, I never thought it was a love song until you told me. Damn. Yeah, so I feel like that's a huge crossover that I've found in the show.
Is it about that creative process for them as well? I mean, them both being musicians?
Yeah, so in the show, Lana's in like fashion, but I think
fashion.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, but she is, his partner, and saying to him, "Oh, you've written this song, and I hear what you're writing about," and he denies it at first, I think, but I think it is, there's musicians, artists everywhere. Of course, your life leaks into your work. I mean, if you're a lawyer, it's leaking into your work, of course. But I think, a lot of artists disguise themselves in their music in many ways. And music has always been therapy to me in so many ways. And sometimes I feel like, a lot of the times, I feel like I can express my emotions better writing.
Yeah.
And it's probably just from spending a chunk of time doing it rather than,
True.
I don't know, putting a wall up.
True. Not too much emotion going into a wall.
No.
But creativity.
Yeah.
You mentioned it was written by the partner of Kyle. Is it, and you mentioned the trying to understand the Scottish dialect or, vernacular. How are you going? Is it, obviously you're doing it in Scottish.
We've adapted it. So it's in Australian vernacular for an Australian audience. It's a very, very adaptable story. But I'm really glad that we've turned it into an Aussie kind of story as well, because the show is so immediate. Like it has, it's a small theatre. The Foundry Theatre that we're performing in Sydney is brand new and really intimate. So it's very intimate. It's very immediate. And it's like, I mean, it's very, very funny, but it's also brutally honest about life.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And the music helps with that brutal honesty, because it can say things that simple words can't.
Well, I wanted to ask you, the final question is, No Love Song is the songs is the title. Is there something in that title?
I do think so. I think whether Carl initially set out when he wrote the album to not write love songs, or afterwards he decided that he didn't want them to be perceived as love songs. I hear a lot of love in those songs. Whether they're love songs or not, I'm not sure. Maybe I should go back and do a master's degree in musicology and write that paper. But I think that the show is about love, and but it's a modern love story. That's kind of the tagline for the show. And I think it's because love songs simplify things, or rom-coms, we know that there's going to be the two complications. This story is just an honest to God truth-telling moment of what can and does happen in relationships a lot, and especially with young families, and how they do or don't get through that. And I love it. If it's not a love story to each other, then I think it's a love story to kind of working on yourself.
Well, on that note, Keegan, Joyce, thank you for joining me. I'll let you go and work on your bagpipe inclusion to your coming up album. Your album, what's it called?
My album will be called A Placeholder for a Conversation. But it's still in the mix, in the literal mix. So I have to get it done. But I'll let you know when it's coming out.
Can't wait. Thanks so much for talking about No Love Songs. I can't wait to see it as well. Thank you. Well, Keegan Joyce there, and that's No Love Songs, a musical at the Foundry Theatre, which is a new space at the Sydney Lyric in Pyrmont. How exciting.